Welcome, everybody, to another edition of The Hurry Up. I'm your host, Adam. Let's get into this. So, last night, the New York Giants played a preseason game. And man, was it welcomed. It was good to see helmets finally, not of like the USFL or of some of these crazy teams. It's just good to see helmets finally. And helmets of your team. I mean, the Giants kicked off, I guess, what you would call week one of the preseason. They don't play a game until next Sunday night, 7 p.m. So that's another 10 days. So let's get into some of the highlights, the lowlights, and just the overall outlook of what I thought in general of the New York Giants. So first and foremost, let's get this guy out of the way. Daniel Jones. He had an okay game. He wasn't spectacular. He wasn't bad. He drove the team downfield, made a solid decision in running the football and sliding. Looked like he was going to be sacked, got out of it. And he did what you wanted a quarterback to do against a lesser defense or a second-team defense. So kudos to that. Did, however, have a couple throws and a couple decisions that I do believe should have been taken care of a little earlier. One is the Jeremiah Hall pass out in the flat. You got to make that pass. You got to give it, a guy like that who's not as athletic as like a Colin Johnson or Kenny Golladay. You got to give that guy some type of advantage when throwing him the football on a play like that. So he can whip him, so he can catch the ball, bring it in, and then whip his head around, right? If you're making him do this acrobatic, twist and turn, whirling dervish type of play, that doesn't help. So that's not a good throw by Daniel. He needs to take that one back. The Golladay play, yes, it was a drop. I think I saw Dable talking to him about the Golladay play. Maybe I think Brian was trying to tell him, throw it a little bit more past the defender, make Golladay have to go for that ball. But Golladay had a lazy route. We'll get to Golladay. We'll get to Golladay in a minute because the time's ticking on that guy. But overall, like I said, Daniel Jones, ho-hum kind of game. Nothing spectacular. Average player at best. Probably going to need an upgrade next season. Nothing to be biased about. I just think that's what we got, in him. It's unfortunate, but he looked okay with the line. I can't lie to you there, but I also saw things where it's like, we don't have the greatest quarterback out there. It's no big deal to him. He might be average, and that might be good enough for the Giants this season. Next guy I want to talk about quickly on the offensive side of the ball is 26. He looks good. He looks real good. Look real spry, real ready to go. I really, really enjoyed watching him play. Looks more decisive in the hole. Looks like they're going to utilize him. The one thing I will say is the Giants are going to do a lot of empty set because they seem to be motioning the back out of the backfield a lot, and I don't want to be giving up too much plays here, but who's really listening? But that does scare me a little bit because if you don't have 6 in to block and you only have 5 because you're doing 5 wides, that may be something that can hurt the Giants in terms of protection, especially with Evan Neal having a struggle out the gate. You want to protect him, right? So let's do that. Another position I want to talk about real quick is the tight end position. The tight end position's a joke, man. Oh man, Daniel Bellinger, he's a good player, but he's going to need a lot. He's got a lot to be desired. He's a rookie. He's a rookie. What can we say, right? I thought Austin Allen looked not bad. I was surprised. A guy his size, his weight ratio, 6'7", kind of lanky. From the plays I watched him, and I got to rewatch the film again, just to see more, analyze it, see if we missed anything. Because sometimes you miss things or somebody brings something up that you didn't see. So it's always good to look at the film again. But Austin Allen, he kind of impressed me. Dare I say he's going to be the second tight end off the board because Myrick is not bad. Chris Myrick is not bad, but I mean, athletically, Austin Allen's a little better. He looked better than Daniel Bellinger. He caught his one pass. He did a couple blocks. He made a couple blocks downfield. He really equated himself well. Do I think the Giants need to look for an upgrade? I wouldn't be surprised if they're searching the waiver wire. Jordan Atkins, I don't even know if this guy's going to make the team. Like I didn't even count that many snaps for him. When a guy, Austin Allen, is taking your playing time, And I know a lot of people want to talk about the first preseason game, but there are some things that you want to look at. You want to take to see if Austin Allen is really getting those third team reps, or if it's just, first preseason game type of stuff. Because for me, if I'm looking at the depth chart right now and I'm looking at how the game played out, there's no way Jordan Akins is making this team. I'm just saying, if you want to keep Jeremiah Hall, because I think the Giants want to keep a fullback to kind of keep a traditional offense and help with pass protection and things like that. So I think Jeremiah Hall has some type of value here if they decide to keep him. And if they don't want to keep 4 tight ends because they're going to use the tight end as a fullback and designate him as an H-back, tight end, whatever, so they can keep him as a fullback, and they'll technically have 3 tight ends on the roster, but Jeremiah Hall would be technically the 4th tight end. That's something you got to think about, because right now I'm thinking it's Bellinger, Myrick, and Allen right now. And, we'll see if Ricky Seals-Jones, gets off life support or whatever the heck he's doing. I mean, my God, where is that guy, I'm looking forward to next preseason game. I know there's a lot more we can dive into, but one guy I want to get into before we transition to the defensive side of the football is Kenny Golladay. Bye-bye, Kenny. Like, Kenny, I don't want to see you on this team no more, man. We paid for fool's gold. This guy is a wash. Like, how is Colin Johnson? Okay, Colin Johnson, who is not the greatest receiver in the world, outplayed you in terms of just making his catches. He had one bad play, which was a fumble, but if you want to go tit for tat or head to head, they both had bad plays. Kenny Golladay drops a pass that should have been caught in his breadbasket. Yes, I know we talked about Daniel Jones and the ball placement, maybe putting it a little further out so Kenny can use his hands and less in the body, but geez, Louise, Colin Johnson, when he's out playing a $72 million quarterback and receiver in preseason, we really got to reevaluate this thing, because Kenny, man, that was a lazy route. I don't know if that's, you didn't think the ball was coming to you, or you're like, I'm just going to go to a spot. I'm not sure, what he was thinking on that play. I would love to ask him, love to be a fly on the wall in the film room on that one, and seeing what happens. But Kenny, your playing time is going to be lost, man. Like, they already had Wan'Dale Robinson out there. They had Colin Johnson playing in place of Kadarius Toney, right? And they had Kenny Golladay. So now you bring up, Kadarius Toney, somebody's going to get phased out. And if you're going to run lazy routes like that, I don't want you on the team. I'm sorry. I just don't. I'd rather go with a younger guy and Colin Johnson who's hungry, who is getting open, who may not be the flashiest of guys, who, by the way, I predict can give you the same output as your $72 million receiver. Imagine this. If you took Kenny Galladay's name off, ripped it off his back, right, and put Colin Johnson, and gave them the same stats, you would be like, man, Colin Johnson, we got a kind of a steal in an undrafted player from Jacksonville coming in and having 500 yards. Yeah, no touchdowns, but man, that's a good season. You look at Kenny Golladay and you're like, damn, homie, what the hell are you doing? I know it's preseason, we shouldn't get too high or too down, but you look at effort. You look at those things, going on. Like, let's switch the defensive side of the ball. I'll show you exactly what I mean. So there's a guy I loved who I thought equated himself well pretty on Thursday. It was Darrian Beavers. That guy was all over the field. The first play of the game, when he was out there, he actually missed the tackle. I thought it was Tay Crowder. That's how bad the tackle was missed. And it comes up and it was Darrian Beavers. And you go and I continued to follow him throughout the entire play, entirety of the next play. To see what was happening. And it looked like he knew, man, I had a chance to really make a play here, and I blew it. You could just tell that he was frustrated. He wasn't as demonstrative as he seems, but you saw when he was walking back to the huddle, he kind of gave himself like a I should have made that play. And then after that play, he was flying around all over the football, making plays, hitting the guys. I really think the Giants, might have got a decent player here. You want guys in the back end to contribute, but sometimes you want guys that can be steals. Like, for example, he went to Cincinnati, and I think the big name recognition at a school like that, who, by the way, was undefeated up until they hit Alabama. I mean, a lot of teams hit Alabama and get their butts kicked. I'm sorry. And Cincinnati don't have the horses like that, but their team has a lot of draftable guys. I mean, their receiver, Pierce, got drafted in the 3rd round. Sauce Gardner went on that team in the top 5, right? And then you have Darren Beavers who went, and I'm thinking I'm missing, and I think their running back and another corner did. So they have 5 guys, I think, from that team that were drafted. So they had a solid team. So he might fly. What I mean is he may have flown under the radar because, he plays for Cincinnati. How good really are they? But it turns out this guy was good, and people are going to crush me for this, but if you listen clearly, I'm going to try to speak slowly for you to understand. He reminds me of what a guy like Micah Parsons does for the Cowboys. A kind of jack-of-all-trade linebacker. He can drop into coverage. He can rush the passer. He can play the edge a little bit and stop the run. He can blitz. I really was, impressed with his skill set in one game. You saw it all. It popped off the screen because they gave him extensive playing time. Now, let's see what happens going forward. I mean, if I'm the Giants, I'm probably going to just let him play the next 2 preseason games and kind of let Blake Martinez be ready for 9/11 against Tennessee. I know that's kind of rough to do, but it's something I think needs to happen. So I think Darren Beavers needs to get more playing time going forward. He also was a starting linebacker with Tate Crowder out there, so that's cool to note. So I did like Michael McFadden. I thought he played well. And rose to the occasion. I thought in camp they saying he was having a little trouble, but he kind of looked the part. He played the angles well. He played the run pretty well. He rushed the passer. It wasn't too bad. The one thing I will say is that I'm concerned about is Cam Brown, bro. Like, what are they doing with this guy? He's on the 3rd team. Carl Banks was saying like, oh, he's going to make the team. He loves Cam Brown, but why aren't we using him as a linebacker? Like, the guy's got speed. He's a gazelle out there. Figure out something to get this guy on the field. I'm just saying, like, don't just waste his talent or cut him and have him go somewhere else. Like, I know I talk about that, go somewhere else, but sometimes develop your guys. See what they can do before you get rid of them. I feel like Cam Brown hasn't been able to be used to see what he can do. Like, if you're going to get rid of him, at least play him in these preseason games and say, all right, we don't need, like, he played like the back end of the 4th quarter. And you could see it on his face on the sideline when they were panning the sideline. You're like, dude, this guy is like, he's dejected. He's like, I want to play. So I would like to see more Cam Brown. I think the defense did okay. I mean, Brian Hoyer did beat him up, but that's what's going to happen in man coverage. You're going to see a lot of passes completed in man coverage, people. And it's going to be different than zone. And what I mean by that is that man coverage, the guys have a very fine line of what they're going to do. Pulling jerseys and getting called for pass interference is going to be one of the things that happens in this defense. It's just going to happen. And Aaron Robinson needs to step up his game a little bit more. And what I mean by this is, like, zone, you're going to get passes caught, but most of the passes you're going to make tackles, hopefully, and keep it the gains minimal. This is the type of thing where, if you don't have your safety over the top because you're playing zero coverage and they run a slant route and they happen to hit it, right? Because they block it up. That's what's going to happen. They block it up, it could go to the house because your guy misses a tackle or he's not right. In zone, at least you have the protection of a bigger space to kind of work in, right? Man is like, hey, if you miss the jam on the line or you give this guy a sliver and your pass rush doesn't get home, you might see some big touchdowns let up. But that's what you're going to expect in Wink Martindale's defense. I like a lot of the exoticness that they had. What also doesn't make any sense to me is, like, a guy who came off the street, the linebacker they signed, I think his name's Carlito or something like that. Carlito, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. I should get it right. But number 59, he's out there over Cam Brown. And I'm just like, what has Cam Brown done to not, I know he's a little banged up coming in, but, like, I think this guy should be out there. And Quincy Roche played a pretty good game too. I thought, he should be moving. Hopefully he'll move up the depth chart. But hey, we can go on for days. But I just want to give you a little nuggets, a little thoughts on the game. I know I ran a little long here. It's not really the hurry up. It was more like the 4-minute drive there. But thanks for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed what you heard. And we'll be back next week to give you a full recap and a preview of the game. Again, you can find me on the Hurry Up Live with Jeffy T. We're going to try to figure out when we're going to have our show. Premium Takes. which we're still working out some kinks there, but that should hopefully get back on the air. And then, of course, my show with Mac the Giant Fan, more like his show with Mac the Giant Fan. I'm just his special guest. The NFC East Roundup every Wednesday at 5:30. It's coming at you. It's going to be real. We're going to be recapping all the NFC East games, giving you more in-depth look at some of the things we see, what we came across, and really what the meaning of preseason is. But hey, this has been another edition of the Hurry Up. I'm your host, Adam. Peace.